Hello and welcome to BYJU'S IAS. Let's take up the daily quiz for today. Let's look at the first question. Which of the following statement is correct with regard to the G20? It was formed primarily to focus on climate change and environmental issues in 20 major economies. It comprises of 19 countries and the European Union. G20 countries conduct annual joint military exercises in the Mediterranean Sea. Russia was recently removed from the group. Amongst the given options, the correct answer is option B. See, the G20 was established in 1999 as an intergovernmental forum to primarily focus on global economic issues. Today, the G20 has diversified its focus and even looks at issues such as climate change, counterterrorism, and even geopolitical and strategic issues that are affecting global peace and stability. But however, it primarily remains an economic grouping focused on promoting coordinated action amongst the 20 largest economies. So this makes option A incorrect, and the G20 countries do not hold any joint military exercises, and Russia has not been removed from the grouping. So the correct answer is option B. It comprises of 19 countries and the European Union. Please look at this image. It shows the membership of the G20 group, and it includes the 19 countries that have been listed over here, along with the European Union. This grouping is in news because, according to this article in The Hindu, Prime Minister Modi has attended an extraordinary summit of the G20, which was held on the topic of Afghanistan. Currently, the chair of the G20 is held by Italy, and Italy convened an extraordinary meeting on the situation in Afghanistan. Prime Minister Modi also took part in this virtual summit and has raised India's concerns and interests in Afghanistan, which we have been discussing in the last few classes. Now let's look at the second question. Recently, the term PM Gati Shakti was seen in news. What does it refer to? National Master Plan for Multimodal Connectivity and Integrated Infrastructure Development, or Financial Inclusion Program aimed at northeastern states, or Livelihood Generation Scheme for migrant workers affected by the pandemic, or a public-private partnership in the commercial space sector. The correct answer is option A. See, according to this article in The Hindu, Prime Minister Modi is all set to launch the PM Gati Shakti initiative, which is essentially a national level master plan for multimodal connectivity and integrated infrastructure development. See, currently infrastructure development in the country is hampered due to lack of coordination between different ministries, government departments, and agencies. So, to bring better coordination between various stakeholders and to create a holistic common vision for infrastructure development, a national master plan is being launched, which will subsume the National Investment Pipeline, which was launched in 2019. It will bring convergence amongst various government schemes related to infrastructure, such as the Bharatmala project, the Sagarmala project, the National Waterways project, the Udan scheme, and other schemes related to textile clusters, defense corridors, electronic parks, industrial corridors, fishing clusters, and agri zones. It will provide for better coordination amongst the ministries and departments with regard to connectivity projects such as road projects, railway lines, laying of cables and pipelines, etc. Now let's look at the third question. Which of the following statements are correct? Extended producer responsibility is a policy approach related to waste management. Under this policy, producers are given a significant responsibility for the treatment or disposal of post-consumer products. India is opposed to this policy and it is limited to European countries. Amongst the given options, the third statement is incorrect, so option B is the right answer. That is 1 and 2 only. See, the concept of extended producer responsibility applies for waste management, and this policy approach is adopted by governments to place a higher responsibility on the producers to take care of the entire life cycle of a product so that they can promote recycling, reusage, and as well as recovery as a part of waste segregation and waste management, thereby providing for scientific and efficient way of managing waste. But however, India is not opposed to this policy. Instead, India has adopted this policy first with regard to management of e-waste or electronic waste, and then later the policy has been extended to plastic waste management as well. The Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change has notified the electronic waste management and plastic waste management rules, under which the concept of extended producer responsibility has been inculcated. Under this approach, the producers of electronic goods and items and the producers of plastic items, they are largely responsible for the treatment and waste management of the products that they are producing. And to encourage them, they are even offered financial incentives so that they can not only provide for scientific waste management, but they can also help in treating waste as a resource. This helps in promoting the objectives of recycle, reuse, and recovery with regard to scientific waste management. Now, this topic is in news because according to this article in the Hindu, the Environment Ministry has announced a new set of draft rules with regard to plastic waste management. Under the draft rules, the producers of plastic packaging material have been mandated to collect all of their produce by 2024 and ensure that a minimum percentage of it is recycled and as well as reused in subsequent supplies. It also provides for a system where the producers will be provided with extended producer responsibility certificate, which they can use to trade with other polluters, thus offering them a financial incentive as well. This notification is expected to come into force by the 6th of December, and it lays down a new set of recycling targets for plastic producers who have the obligation to fulfill the extended producer responsibility. Now let's look at the fourth question. The nutrient-based subsidy rates for non-urea fertilizers are approved by the Ministry of Finance, Niti Aayog, Ministry of Agriculture, the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. The correct answer is option D. This topic is in news because according to this article in the Hindu, the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, which is chaired by the Prime Minister, has approved the new set of rates under the nutrient-based subsidy system. See, when it comes to pricing of fertilizers, urea-based fertilizers are still regulated by the government and its prices are fixed by the center. The center essentially fixes a maximum retail price for urea-based fertilizers. But however, nearly a decade ago, the non-urea-based fertilizers such as nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium were deregulated, and the government provides subsidies to these fertilizers under the nutrient-based subsidy scheme. That is based on the nutrient content in the fertilizer, the subsidy rates are fixed, and these rates are approved by the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. This subsidy would be paid directly to the fertilizer producers, which will act as a compensation for them for selling the fertilizer to farmers below the market prices. Now let's look at a question from the 2019 prelims paper. With reference to the recent developments in science, which one of the following statements is not correct? Functional chromosomes can be created by joining segments of DNA taken from cells of different species. Pieces of artificial functional DNA can be created in laboratories. A piece of DNA taken out from an animal cell can be made to replicate outside a living cell in a laboratory. Cells taken out from plants and animals can be made to undergo cell division in laboratory petri dishes. Amongst the given statements, the incorrect statement is option A. See, option B essentially refers to artificial gene synthesis, which is also referred to as DNA printing. So it is possible to create artificial pieces of functional DNA in a lab. Then option C essentially refers to cloning technique, where a DNA taken from an animal cell can be made to replicate outside a living cell in a lab. And option D is also possible because it essentially refers to the tissue culture of plant and animal cells. But however, joining segments of DNA taken from cells of different species and creating functional chromosomes is not possible, and hence this would be the incorrect statement. Now, coming to the fact of the day, let's look at this important article from the Hindu. According to the article, China has launched a new biodiversity fund. See, China is currently hosting the 15th Conference of Parties to the Convention on Biological Diversity. During this summit, China has announced the establishment of the Kunming Biodiversity Fund with a contribution of nearly $233 million, which will be used to fund biodiversity conservation projects in developing and underdeveloped nations. By establishing this new fund under the CBD Convention, China is trying to establish its leadership role with regard to biodiversity conservation by helping arrange financing for the smaller countries. This new fund established by China rivals the existing Global Environment Facility, which is backed by the United Nations and other organizations, which already provides financing to several environment and biodiversity related conventions. Both the GEF and the Convention on Biological Diversity were an outcome of the 1992 Rio Earth Summit, which also gave birth to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, and as well as to the UN Convention to Combat Desertification. The financing mechanism under GEF is largely dominated by the Western countries. So, to probably rival the GEF, China has established a new biodiversity fund known as the Kunming Biodiversity Fund at the ongoing conference related to the Convention on Biological Diversity. At this ongoing summit in China, a debate is being carried out over the 30 by 30 agenda. This term can be very important for your prelims because this refers to a proposal under the Convention on Biological Diversity to accord the protected status to at least 30% of the lands and oceans by the year 2030. So, this proposal aimed at protecting our land and oceans is referred to as the 30 by 30 agenda. So, with this, let's conclude our discussion for today. Thanks for watching.